All right, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, we're gonna get started. Welcome everyone. So good to see you here. Ooh, I feel really loud today. Okay, cut the numbers. All right, that's a little better. Okay, great. All right, so Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, congregation. Best Shalom. It's good seeing you all in person. I love it. Okay, we're gonna get started. First thing up is lighting the candle. So Jan, Carolyn, and company are gonna come up. And we're on, if you want to follow along, page 120 is where the candle lightings are on the prayer book. That's the Torah blessing. Sorry to confuse you guys. Like that. There you go. Man, thank you. Okay. The next, I'm going to invite the Mutual Brothers up here to sing some liturgical songs for us. Came out kind of weird. Sorry. Liturgical songs. I don't know, what else would you call it? Like melodies? Kabbalat Shabbat. Okay, Kabbalat Shabbat. Now I'm getting self-conscious about it. Okay, we're moving on to page 128. Hine Mato.
הנה מה טובו בנאים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טובו בנאים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יא לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יא לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ובנאים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ובנאים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יא לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יא לה 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 לה.
On to Lachad OD, which you can find on a page 138, and we're going to recite paragraphs 1, 5, and 9. Is that correct? 1, 2, normally you guys skip. Oh, 1, 5. Right. Okay, so 1, 5, and 9. When we arrive on paragraph 9, I want you all to stand up, face the entrance as we read the Shabbat ride.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי אורי שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך ניגע. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה וצולה, טוב אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We move over to Shalom Alechem on page 142.
Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hashem, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barakuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidkem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Now move to page 144 for the Chetzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgada shemei rabba be'alma divrach riotev yamlik machutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uchayedechol beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv v'imaru amen. Yehesh me rabba mevarach le'alam ula me'almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yipar ve'yipramam ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemei dekudasham barichu le'elam in kol birchata v'shiratam Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imaru. Amen. Turn to page 146. When you arrive there, I invite you to rise with us as we sing the Baruch Hu.
La 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 Baruch et Adonai Amevorach. Baruch Adonai Amevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai Amevorach Leolam Vaed. Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated, and we continue now in the middle of page 148.
Umaviyom, 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 umevilala. Umavil ben yom umelayla. Adonai Yisrael Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamidim Lo. Aleinu le'olam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Umaviyom, umaviyom, umevilala. Umavdil ben yom uvelayla. Adonai Yisrael Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamidim Lo. Aleinu le'olam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Ya la la la, 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 ya la la la.
Okay, we're moving on to page 151, and I invite you to read the English with me on the bottom paragraph of that page. Someone gets up. Thanks, AJ. Wisdom and wonder, passion, instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works in the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Move to 152. Sorry, I was going to do sign language. So sometimes I do sign language, Shema, and my hands kind of come up here right instantly. But I wasn't planning on doing that right now. I'm supposed to go with my eyes. Okay, we're gonna do the more covering eyes, Shema. Okay, here we go. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Leolam Vaed. Move over to page 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levacha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meyodecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinartam levarnecha b'divartam ba'am. V'shivtecha b'veitecha u'b'techa havaderech u'shofecha u'kumecha. V'kshartam leyot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mizuzo beitecha u'visharecha. Leman tiskeru v'atzitem et chol mitzvotai v'tem kiroshim leloechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem meretz Mitzrayim liot lachem leElohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem emet. We now move to the Micha Mocha on page 158.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la.
Now over at the Shomer on page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We now move into the Amidah on page 164. When you arrive there, I invite you to stand with us. Adonai sepatai kita ufiati tehilatecha. Adonai sepatai kita ufiati tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Mika, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor, HaNorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Tafdei Avot Me'mavot, V'levi Ulam Leman Shemot Me'aham, Melech HaKodesh Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ratzah, Atah Mibor Leolam Adonai, V'nayeh Avolata Radoshia, Barikata, V'nechayeh Elohim Le'chesed, Nechayeh HaKol Be'racham Yitrami, Somen Ofrim Be'rokei Korim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayeh Emunato, V'shenei Ahar, Iklamo Kavavitulo, Umido Melech, Melech Memim, Mekayeh, Umatzir Yeshua, Ne'amanata Yehova, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. We'll not continue silently until page 180. You may be seated whenever you like.
Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Vimru, vimru, amen. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Vimru, vimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Okay, some words of Torah. So right in the beginning of this week's portion, we see a very powerful statement. It says, "You shall be holy, for I, your God, am holy." And this half of a verse is a critical flashpoint among ancient and modern Jewish scholars, because there is a bit of a problem with this statement. Up until now, we've been dealing with purity laws and rules that guide the Israelites into a civilization. And these laws, as the nuts and bolts of our fledgling civilization, are the things that the Israelites need to do. Yet here in Leviticus 19:2, God is saying this is the way the Israelites need to be. What to be is not as clear as what to do. We've just spent the last 18 chapters describing the rules of doing rituals. Often rules require action. So for example, if say I'm in like an empty or rural crossroads with a traffic light, and when the light turns red, I intend to stop. I'm not going to consider the fact that maybe there's no cars miles around that could run the red light with no problem. I'm just going to happily sit there and wait for it to turn green again. Thrilled that I can think about other things for a while. Rules are meant for doing and not necessarily for thinking. Now, that being said, Jews are pretty famous for arguing about rules, but that's a different point for like a different day. Yet God isn't asking the Israelites to do something here in this passage. God is asking the Israelites to be something, and that does require some thought. It seems to me that God is saying it's not enough to act pure. You need to also be holy, as God is holy. And what God's really saying is, y'all Israelites got to figure out what that means for you. And one would hope that the next few passages after this line would offer some much needed context for this being holy business. Unfortunately, the details are limited, which is the Torah's like signature move. It seems to ignore this demand to be holy altogether and continue with the usual boilerplate statements. Revere your father and mother, keep Shabbat, don't worship idols. And let me tell you, not a single Jewish commentator is convinced that this alone makes one holy. We recognize that what God is demanding is more complicated than this. Yet what could it be? Thus comes a bore tide of scholarly commentary guessing at what God could mean. And I'm going to break it down to two camps for you. Camp one is like a fancy Latin title called Imitatio Dei, which means imitating God, or imitating God to be holy. And the second camp believes this means we need to separate ourselves to be holy. Those are kind of two camps that most scholars fall into. Just a quick warning. I'm going to be quoting a lot of Talmud here and some scholars, and they offer lots of gendered language. So when I quote Torah, I often make the language gender neutral, but when I quote commentary, I just use the gender language that they write. Just want you all to know that even though I'll be referring to God as he/him, these don't reflect my personal views. Anyways, we're going to go to camp one. So the Talmud says right out of the gate, quoting this very verse and stating, this means to be like him. Just as he is gracious and compassionate, you should also be gracious and compassionate. The famous scholar Moses Maimonides, also referred to as a Rambam, the ending is an M, as in a Mother's Day is Sunday. This comes in important later, the ending of the name, but Rambam with the M. He says this: our sages taught the following explanation of this mitzvah. Just as he is called gracious, you shall be gracious. Just as he is called merciful, you shall be merciful. Just as he is called holy, you shall be holy. In a similar manner, the prophets called God by other titles: slow to anger, abundant in kindness, righteous, just, perfect, almighty, powerful, and the like. They did so to inform us that these are good and just paths. A person is obligated to accustom himself to these paths and to try to resemble him to the extent of his ability. I just want to point out real quick that both these passages do not use revere your father and mother as an example, which I think is a real miss here for these two guys, but whatever. Anyways, moving on. So essentially in camp one, aka Imitatio Dei, being holy is sharing God's values. This goes way beyond following rules, and as Rambam puts it, to follow good and just paths. And I really like this perspective because laws have loopholes and rules can be followed maliciously. Our lives are meant to be more than just rule following. We should also be concerned citizens who live by moral values. And there is no law to practice tikkun olam, repairing the world. Yet it's something that we should do anyways. And this is what it means to be holy. Okay, on to camp 2. Separation is how a person is holy. The idea of separation is already heavily practiced in Judaism. For example, Shabbat. It's separate from the rest of the week. We have a ritual of lighting candles before Shabbat starts, and then lighting Havdalah candles to act as a barrier for the separation of Shabbat. Now, unfortunately, I'm actually quite angry with the popular ancient commentary around this verse. These guys really let me down here, and I'll explain why. Rashi and Ramban, that's with an N, as in not to forget Mother's Day on Sunday. So it's different than Rambam. This is Ramban. I don't know why the name's so similar. It's so annoying. Anyways, so Rashi, Ramban, and Ibn Ezra, all household names for their famous Torah commentary. Now, you may not know them, but trust me, they're household names for a lot of people. Essentially claim that this statement is about improper intercourse. To be holy, one should separate themselves from this. Now, one could argue that it's important to act in moderation among all things, but these guys, unsurprisingly, really have outdated views of relationships. To take a statement as important as you should be holy and turn it around in a way to shame people for not following their male and privileged perspective of morality insults my modern sensibilities. So I'm going to bring in a feminist scholar. Her name is Elise Goldstein to help with this problem. And here's what she writes. For these women who carry life inside, attached to another being who is at the same time part of them, separateness does not equal spirituality. For these women whose connections is more at the root of holiness. For these women who are the cohesive force in a group, a definition of holiness is needed. It does not imply building fences. Thus, this verse demands holiness. It's up to us to define holiness in a way that's truthful for both women and men. In my mind, Professor Goldstein's critique of our ancient scholars provides us with some new insights. Holiness is not a one-size-fits-all concept. Perhaps God isn't just talking to the Israelites. Perhaps God is talking to us, each of us individually, and demanding that we need to be holy. And if our Torah is a living text, then holiness is an evolving concept. For me, I think personally, being holy is being a good husband, being a good father, trying to fold our clothes in an appropriate amount of time, that kind of stuff. But for you, it might be different. It might mean fighting for what you believe in, admitting to yourself that you need self-care, or working on your relationships, and much, much more. And God says that you shall be holy, a future statement that suggests it still needs doing, which means God isn't just asking you to be holy, but to discover what holiness means to you. And then you shall be holy when you discover it. Thank you. We're now going to move on to the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing, on page 371 of your prayer books. And in our own community, these members are in need of healing. Tina Mink, Chris Converse, Jennifer Eskridge, Ian Clift, David Tobias, Katie Flagel, Lindsay Raber, Micah Purdy, Cheryl Lambriani, Laura Allen, Susan Super, Mary Jo Robinson, Melba Cook, Emmy Webb, Stephen Lamp, Russell Crass, Bill Ross, Alan Friedman, Russ Nog, Ross Rumack, Norma Haas, Ray Ellis, Judy Cantor, Carol Riven, Diane Kaplan, Craig Paulus, Philip Kaufman, Jane Anderson, Louis Mayer, Lillian Mayer, Margie Bauman, Ariel Lamp, Emily Weaver, and Ginger Spiro. If there's someone who you are thinking of who is in need of healing, please feel free to say their names out loud or in your hearts as my hand crosses the room. Okay, 371.
Avotenu Mekor HaBracha avotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebe'ach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Now I'm going to move to the Eleni on page 587 in the prayer book. When we arrive there, I invite you to stand with us. Page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love each of us with the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech. May we never lift up our hands, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas. And let it the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yireh nadecha u'shemo
Now move to the Morris class you can find on page 598 of your prayer books. And in our own community, we're thinking about these yard sites this week. Jack Kamener, Christine Chandler, Phil Cohen, Gershon Ginsburg, Robert Olaf, Mill Rosenberg, Elsie Werner, and Dorothy Zeman. I mean, we're still in the period of Shloshim for Jim Brown. If there's someone who you are thinking of, please feel free to say their names out loud or in your heart as my hand crosses the room. Zikronim livracha, may the memory be for a blessing. Yit kedal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, ve'elma divrach yotev v'yamlik malchuteh, v'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'chayed chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarak le'olam u'lomei almaya. Yitzbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yipramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu v'yakol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, alenu v'yakol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. Okay, announcement. So tomorrow is exploring liturgy at 9:30 in our Zoom room. And then it's our text study at 10:30 on top of that. And then we have our morning minyan every Wednesday at 8 a.m. So please join us for that if you like. Also in our Zoom room. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Kind of hitting summer mode here. Yeah. But Adina has a bat mitzvah coming up in July. So that's exciting. And we have July 24th. I should probably remember what this date is. I feel like that's gonna be good. 23rd. Yeah. Not a good move for the rabbi. Sunday after. We're here. I'm here for the bat mitzvah. Anyway, so the 23rd on July, and then we also have another one on June 10th/11th for Nora. So we have 2 bat mitzvahs this summer. Very exciting. Hopefully they're gonna be in person. Okay. Yes. Right. Our last episode of Torah Uncensored will be on May 22nd, which is a Sunday. You can still sign up for it if you want. It's Rabbi Obas will be leading that one. So that'll be the last one for this season, and we'll start back up again in the fall. So there's that. There's a new podcast download from What the Vine Says, the podcast that me and Pastor Matt Schultz co-host. So there's that available as well. Okay, I think that's all. I think that's everything. Yes, Seth. Yes, the 10 plagues softball game. Hopefully they might win this one. It's great. It took me a while to realize 10 plagues is like self-referential. You know what I mean? But yeah, where is it? Is it the Campbell, those fields? Yeah. There's a bunch of baseball fields, softball fields over there. Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, 10 plagues are playing. Exciting. On Monday, you said 6:30? Excellent. Okay, well, there you go. Them are the announcements. Thank you for coming. We're going to have our closing melody now. Brothers, what are we doing? Okay, excellent. Whoa, the page number? 128. We're on 128 for our closing melody.
Maya fe. Maya fe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Maya fe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Maya fe hayom. Shabbat shalom. Maya fe hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.